All right, teammates. So today we are using all of our extensive knowledge of base numbers and exponents and using that to evaluate expressions by following the order of operations. So today we kind of changed the way that we view and remember the order of operations by switching out one letter. So instead of referring to it as PEMDAS, we are going to say GEMDAS, which I know just sounds goofy, but hey. So we have groupings because that includes parentheses, brackets, and braces, which I can't draw very well, so excuse me for that. But groupings covers all of that. Then we have exponents. Then we have multiplication and division, which remember, we go from left to right, whichever one comes first, and then addition and subtraction. So I like to write this off to the side in the margin so I can remember what order I'm doing things. So as I go through, just like what we saw with our key points, I am going to rewrite my expression after each step that I solve. So for example, I'm going to look at this expression and I'm going to evaluate the value of it. So I first ask myself, are there any groupings? Yes, there are. There are parentheses right here. So that means I need to evaluate what's inside the parentheses first. I notice that I have a multiplication sign and I have an exponent. So I need to evaluate the exponent before I can evaluate the multiplication problem. So I need to evaluate 4 cubed. 4 times 4 is 16, and then 16 times 4 is 64. So now I'm going to rewrite this. 3 times parentheses 2 times 64 divided by 4. Now I still need to make sure that I'm within my parentheses, my groupings, before I move on to anything else. So the only thing left is to evaluate that multiplication problem. So I have 2 times 64. 2 times 64 is 128. So remember, you are able to use your calculator for these because I'm really looking to see that we have the process of evaluating expressions with the order of operations. However, that's why I need to see every single step rewritten. So now we have 3 times 128. Since it's by itself, I can get rid of those parentheses, divided by 4. Now I ask myself, what do I do with multiplication and division? Remember, I need to go from left to right, so I'm going to do 3 times 128, which is 384. Then lastly, I have 384 divided by 4, which gives me 96. And since my final answer is 96, I need to make it obvious by putting a circle or a box around it. Okay, so we're going to look at another example in following the same process because this is the process that I should see. I should see all of your work, all of your steps rewritten on your exit ticket today. So when I look at your exit ticket, I should not just see the answer, but I should see all of this work. All right, so looking at this second example, we have 5 cubed plus 7 close parentheses times 2. Remember, I have groupings, exponents, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So I know that I see this grouping here, and then I see an exponent. I know no matter what, my exponent is going to be evaluated first within that parentheses. So 5 cubed is 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. Add 7, close parentheses times 2. Now I need to evaluate what's inside the parentheses still. 125 plus 7 is 132. Since that's all that's left inside the parentheses, I can get rid of the parentheses. And then I'm left with 132 times 2, When I evaluate that multiplication problem, I get 264. Okay, so there are a few less steps, but either way, I showed every single step of the way, and I acknowledged my final answer by putting a circle around it. All right, and let's look at one more final problem. Again, it is best practice, as we're getting used to this, to write our abbreviations off to the side to keep us on track. So we have groupings, exponents, multiplication and division, addition, and then subtraction. So again, I look at my expression, which is parentheses 9 plus 8 squared times 1 cubed plus 5. So I see that I have some groupings here with these parentheses. I'm not going to look at addition first. I'm not going to look at multiplication first. I have to look at my exponents within that grouping first. So 8 squared is the same as 8 times 8, which is 64. So I'm going to rewrite this, parentheses 9 plus 64 times 1 cubed, so 1 times 1 times 1 is just equal to 1. Close parentheses, plus 5. I am still within my parentheses, so I see that I have addition and multiplication. I need to evaluate multiplication before addition. So I'm going to do 64 times 1, which is luckily pretty easy. So I'm going to rewrite this, 9 plus 64, close parentheses, plus 5. And then finally I need to evaluate this addition problem within my parentheses. 9 plus 64 is 73. I can leave out the parentheses since that's the only number left. So I have 73 plus 5. 73 plus 5 gives me a total of 78, which I'm going to circle since it is my final answer. Okay, so again, I didn't have to see every individual calculation. I didn't have to see 8 times 8 to get 64. However, it is obvious with each step listed. That is the expectation when you are showing your work for the rest of today's lesson. And specifically, I'm going to be looking for exemplary responses on our exit ticket.